In order to discuss prostitution, there needs to be good understanding of choice. Do we always have a choice? Is there such a thing as forced choice? Let's take a look at the prostituted person we see on the streets. It appears that they are making a choice. They are not locked in a room, and no one is pointing a weapon at them, physically forcing them to be out there. They are performing sexual acts in exchange for money, and that is the definition of prostitution. But it is not and has never been that simple. Throughout history, women have been used to fulfill the sexual desires of men. As people began to expand and conquer lands, the raping of the local woman was a prize to satisfy the lusts of the victor. At times, prostitution was tolerated to prevent men from falling into the greater evils of rape and sodomy. And as wars were fought over greater distances, women would even be transported from the homeland so that the soldiers didn't have to have sex outside their race. Did those women choose to be used in these ways? Or was it forced upon them? Sadly, the idea that women are objects to be used for sexual gratification still persists today. The philosopher Peter Kreeft said, "Control the language and you control thought. Control thought and you control action. Control action and you control the world." This is because words can redefine and limit thoughts in the brain. When we hear the word stewardess, our brains automatically think of a female. The word policeman makes us think of a male. But when the language changes to more neutral words, our brains no longer limit us to a certain gender. Changing the language in order to be more inclusive is fair, but sometimes the language changes in order to influence people regardless of any real change. The term illegal immigrant makes us think the person is a criminal, but undocumented worker makes us think they are simply lacking proper documentation. But calling someone an undocumented worker does not suddenly change their legal status. In a similar way, those who want to reframe the way people think about prostitution are changing the name. With the word prostitution, our brains associate words like disease, drug addiction, outcasts of society, or perhaps even the glamorous outward appearance of escorts. Certain activist groups trying to control the narrative are changing the language to sex work. With this language, they are promoting ideas of economic independence and empowerment. This new wording moves our ideas from prostitution is an act of desperation to the idea that sex work is a chosen occupation. But regardless of what terms are used, the question still remains, is it even a choice? The definition of choice is the right, power, or opportunity to choose. Choice always exists, even when neither outcome is desired. If faced with the choice between letting your children go hungry or selling your body for sex to put food on the table, many people would make the choice to sell their body. These types of choices are no longer choices of freedom, but forced choices. People are forced into the prostitution system, if not physically, then economically. The truth is, the prostitution system exists so that the sex buyer can satisfy their own sexual desires. It is the renting of another's body for the buyer's pleasure. It has always been about the buyer, not the choice or empowerment of the person who is being used. And this will not change simply because the language has. Some of the language changes claiming to be feminists and human rights activists are calling for full decriminalization or legalization of the prostitution system. Under full decriminalization, the prostituted person is not criminalized, but neither are the sex buyers, pimps, brothel keepers, or other third parties. Everyone and everything is allowed because nothing is illegal. With legalization, everything is allowed because the government has made these acts legal under their own oversight, claiming they can appropriately regulate the sex industry. Are these options really the best we have to offer prostituted people? Have we given up on creating better job opportunities, the hope of a better life, a life where people aren't forced to sell their bodies to survive? Declaring the prostitution system work might make it more palatable for us, but does it make it better for the people trapped in the system? No matter what you call the sex industry, it is and will always be violent and exploitative. crime should be criminalized, not organized. There is another option that decriminalizes the prostituted person while criminalizing the sex industry. This is called the Sankara equality model. This is what true feminists and human rights activists should desire. If you're a citizen who has never engaged in the sex industry, you might be thinking, what does all of this have to do with me? They're not bothering me, so why should I care what they do? If the prostitution system becomes decriminalized or legalized, there is nothing to stop brothels and pimps from coming into your neighborhood. The more we decriminalize these harmful acts, the more we allow related crimes into our society. That is why it is important for you to say no to anything that keeps a fellow citizen in a disadvantaged position. Tell lawmakers to say yes to the Sankara equality model, which assists people exiting the prostitution system while still punishing those who benefit from their exploitation.